Good morning, students. Today we are going to start our class with another biomolecule, that is protein. By this time we have already covered biomolecules like carbohydrates and lipids. All these two are a sure essay question, and this protein also a sure question. And alternatively, each one will be asked for the university exam that I already told you while taking the other sections. Anyway, as it is important, I am again remembering you that is very important. So today we are starting with the protein. Proteins are polymers of amino acids. They are high molecular weight biomolecules, and its building blocks are amino acids. We take the dry body weight of a person, and the protein constitutes 3/4 of his body weight. Dry weight means what? What is dry weight? Dry weight means the weight of the body of a organism or a creature if its body totally removed of its water content. That condition is called a dry body weight. Okay. Then what are the components of proteins? You look to the structure. Before that, mainly a protein is composed of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and also with sulfur and phosphorus as minor constituents. That's about its composition. Then, as we know, as I told you, building blocks of proteins are amino acids. So we need to understand in detail what is the structure, what are the components, what are the atoms in amino acid. Amino acid constituents. Which are the constituents? A carboxyl group is there. This is a chemical formula. A carboxyl group is present. Then an amino group is present. Then what? A side chain is present. And based on this side chain usually determine the property of protein to a certain extent. Then a hydrogen atom. And then look to this carbon. As this carbon's 4 bonds are linked to different groups, this carbon we can call as a chiral or asymmetric carbon. Okay, these are the point we need to understand. What are the constituents of amino acids? Carboxyl group is there, amino group is there, a side chain is there, then a hydrogen atom is there, and the carbon that attaches with as seen here is asymmetric carbon, a simple amino acid. Then need to understand about peptide bond. What is this bond? This is the bond. This is the main hero that holds the adjacent amino acid like a string. In the case of a neck chain, how that beads are arranged in a string. In the same way, how the amino acids are arranged in a protein with the help of this bond. What bond? Peptide bond. Okay. Then we need to understand how, between which group this bond is forming. This is one amino acid and this is another amino acid. And the peptide bond is usually formed between the carboxyl group of one amino acid and the amino group of another amino acid through a dehydration, a removal of one water molecule. From this H3 and H2 is taking, and this oxygen. Together one molecule of H2 is removing, and in that way that peptide bond is forming between the two amino acid, and as a result it links this amino acid with this one. Okay, in this way the amino acids are linked one by one and form a long chain of polypeptide. Okay. Then what we need to know, dipeptides are there, tripeptides are there, oligopeptides are there, and polypeptides are there. Dipeptide means peptides with the 2 amino acids. Tripeptide means the peptides with 3 amino acids. Oligo means that peptides with 3 to 9 amino acids. And poly means those polypeptide chain having the number of amino acids about 10 up to 50 amino acids. Okay, that's about different type of polypeptide chain. Then polypeptide chain in the protein is number of chain in a protein. We cannot fix its number. That polypeptide chains may be identical or different. But at the same time, that polypeptide chains, how they are held together inside a protein with the help of hydrogen bonds, disulfide bonds, ionic bonds, hydrophobic interactions. All these are the bonding forces help to hold all the polypeptides together inside a protein. Okay. Then we need to understand what is amino acids. Amino acid is there. Then what is imino? Imino means NH group instead of NH3. So amino acids containing imino group, that is a NH in the place of amino group. Such type of chemicals or some chemical unit are called the amino acids instead of amino acids. Okay. Next. Classification of amino acids. Different types, level of classifications are present here. First one, based on the behavior in solution. How these amino acids are behaving in solution. Okay. Amino acid actually in solution, it undergoes ionization of its functional group. Functional group means that group that present on that side chain. Depending upon the ionization of that functional group, it may yield anions or cations. And that ionization yield net positive or net negative charge to that molecule. Okay, that's a classification based on behavior. Based on that particular perspective, how many types of amino acids are there? Neutral amino acid, acidic amino acid, and basic amino acid. Neutral, as the name itself implies, that neutral means one amino acid contain one amino group and one carboxylic group. We know that amino is basic and carboxylic group is acidic. So it as the number of acidic and basic units are same, it is neutral. Then acidic amino acid means, in acidic amino acid, that amino acid have one amino group but two carboxylic groups. So that acidic group number is more when compared to basic. So it is acidic. Examples we need to quote. Which are the examples for acidic amino acids? Aspartic acid is there, glutamic acid is there. These are all acidic amino acids. Then basic amino acids, which is basic amino acids. In basic amino acid, basic things should be more in number than acidic. Two amino groups are present and one carboxylic group is present in basic amino acids. So they are called basic amino acids. Examples: lysine, arginine, etc. Then we are going to see next type of classification based on structure of side chain. They are of aliphatic amino acid, aromatic amino acid, and heterocyclic amino acids. Then aliphatic means that amino acids of that polypeptide. These amino acids are arranged in a straight side chain. Amino acid with a straight side chain are called aliphatic amino acid. What are aliphatic amino acids? Aliphatic amino acids are those amino acids with a straight side chain. Example: alanine and lysine. Then aromatic means opposite to that. Amino acid with a side chain having aromatic rings. Example: tyrosine and phenylalanine. Then next is heterocyclic amino acid. Heterocyclic amino acids means what? These are amino acids with heterocyclic, means all the atoms in the ring may be of different. Such type of amino acids are called heterocyclic amino acids. Example, protein, histidine, etc. In heterocyclic, at least two elements of the ring should be different. Then only we can call that ring as a heterocyclic. Then next type of classification based on the position of amino group. Alpha amino acid, beta amino acid, gamma amino acid. Carbon atom to which COOH attaches is called alpha carbon. That we need to understand and keep it in our mind. The only thing we need to understand which in a polypeptide chain which is the alpha carbon, to which carbon that COOH group is attached, then that carbon is called alpha carbon. Okay. The alpha amino acid means that NH2 group attached to alpha carbon atom, it is called the alpha amino acid. NH2 group attached to alpha carbon, then it is called the alpha amino acid. Example, alanine and valine. Then beta amino acid, what is beta amino acid? That NH2 group attached to beta carbon, means the carbon next to the alpha carbon. That type of amino acid is called beta carbon atom. NH2 group attached to beta carbon of that polypeptide chain. Example, cysteine, Cysteine. Then gamma amino acid means NH2 group attached to gamma carbon atom. Then next type of classification based on the nutritional requirement. Essential amino acid means amino acid cannot be synthesized in the body. That type are called essential. Example, isoleucine, leucine, lysine. Isoleucine, isoleucine. Leucine spelling Leucine, leucine. Then lysine is there, Lysine. Then non-essential amino acid. What is non-essential? Non-essential means amino acids that can be synthesized in the body. Example, alanine, serine, glycine, etc. Then semi-essential amino acid means they can be synthesized in the body but not up to the required level, required rate. That type of amino acids are called semi-essential amino acids. Example, histidine, arginine. These are all semi-essential amino acids. Next type classification based on affinity towards water. Then based on that property, hydrophilic means amino acid have great affinity to water. Example, lysine, arginine. Then hydrophobic amino acid means they have no affinity to water. Example, glycine, serine, cysteine. Cysteine, cysteine. It's about different types of classification of amino acids. We studied only the different types of classification of amino acids. Next, we are going to see the classification of proteins. The proteins are classified based on its complexity. Okay. Here also different classification based on different parameters. And first is based on complexity. Simple proteins are there and conjugated proteins are there, and last derived proteins. These are the three types based on complexity: simple, conjugated and derived. We are going to see each one by one. Simple proteins. This type of protein is only amino acids and their derivatives on hydrolysis. No other products. Simple proteins, if they hydrolyzed, from that protein only what things yielded? Only amino acids and the derivatives of amino acids. No other products can be obtained on the hydrolysis of the simple proteins. Okay. Then the simple protein itself again subdivided into 7 classes in the order of decreasing solubility. Okay, then what is that? What's the name of that simple proteins? Albumin, globulin, glutelins, prolamins, scleroproteins, histones, and protamins. Okay, once more. Albumins, globulins, glutelins, GLUTALLINS, prolamins, PROLAMINES, scleroproteins, SCLEROPROTEINS, then histones and protamins, PROTAMINES, protamins. All these are simple proteins. Only difference is that they differ in their extent of solubility. Okay. Then next type is conjugated protein. Conjugation. What it means? Protein, if it is having some collaboration union with some non-protein part, such type of protein are called conjugate. A very common example we know that what is that? Hemoglobin. Hemoglobin. I think you have learned in the we learned in this semester itself in the physiology part in very detail about hemoglobin. So conjugated protein I think is very clear to you. Proteins with non-protein part are called conjugated protein. On hydrolysis they yield a non-protein group and a mixture of amino acids. Then we need to see which are the important type of conjugated proteins. Nucleoproteins is there. As the name implies, nucleoprotein means it is a combination of nucleic acid and protein. Examples, protamins, histones, nucleic acid. Protamins or histone nucleic acid. These are nucleoproteins. Example what? Protamins or histone nucleic acid. Then next is glycoprotein. Where is it? Glycoprotein. Glyco means glucose. Glucose is carbohydrate. So it's a combination of protein plus carbohydrate. Glycoproteins. Normally, the carbohydrate percentage in glycoprotein is less than 10%. If it is more than 10%, it is called mucoproteins. Based on that percentage, that name is given. If the percentage of carbohydrate in the protein is less than 10%, it is called a glycoprotein. If that percentage wise, if it is more than 10%, it is called mucoproteins. Then next type is lipoproteins. Lipoproteins means protein, lipid means lipids. Protein plus lipids. They are usually loosely bounded lipoproteins. And it is usually found in blood and plasma membrane. Then chromoproteins. Chromoproteins is the combination of proteins plus colored substance. Hemoglobin example, chromoprotein, which has red color. Then flavoprotein also there. Flavoproteins are also there. They are of yellow color. Then next is phosphoprotein. As the name itself we can understand, phosphoric acid plus protein is phosphoprotein. Example, casein of milk, vitelline of yolk. These are phosphoprotein. Then metalloprotein. Metalloprotein means any metal plus protein. Example, here also we can give hemoglobin as an example because it contains iron as a metal. Cytochrome. Cytochrome is another metalloprotein. Hemocyanin, another metalloprotein. Then what is derived protein? Derived proteins. What is derived proteins? They are products obtained after acid or alkyl or enzymatic degradation of proteins. What do you understand? If we take a protein and carry out its degradation using some acid, alkali or enzyme. Then what all things extracted from that protein, that things are called derived proteins. Once more, if we degrade a protein using acid, alkyl or enzymes, that all products are called derived proteins. Is it clear? Okay. And that products usually are maybe proteases, peptones, peptides, etc. Once more, which may be the products obtained after the degradation of protein using these acids, alkyls and enzymes. Usually that products are of proteoses, 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 peptones, peptides, etc. Next type of classification based on the solubility or shape. Based on solubility or shape, two type of proteins are there: globular proteins and fibrous. From the name itself, we can understand globular proteins are spherical proteins. They are unbranched proteins and also they are soluble in water. Example: globular proteins and fibrous proteins. Then what is fibrous protein itself? They are long fiber-like protein. They are insoluble in water but soluble in strong acids and alkalis. Example: collagen, elastin, keratin, etc. Based on function, we can classify protein into different types. They are catalytic proteins. They are all enzymes. Okay, they are doing catalysis process of so many reactions. Examples: amylase, lipase, proteases, etc. Then contractile proteins, proteins that helps in movement. Cytoskeleton of cells itself are contractile proteins. Actin, myosin, these are all contractile proteins. Then structural proteins. Structural proteins means they are essential component of biological structure. That are collagen, elastin. They give structural support framework. Then transport proteins. Transport proteins means that are functional wise they are transporting in function. They carry different materials like oxygen, carbon dioxide. Example: hemoglobin, hemocyanin. They are all transport proteins. Then genetic proteins also there. Genetic proteins means proteins associated with the nucleic acids. Genetic. It is genetic. That's what. Proteins associated with the nucleic acid. Example: histones and non-histone proteins. Then regulatory proteins means it includes all hormones. All hormones are regulatory proteins. Thyroxine, insulin, adrenaline are examples. Then protective proteins. Protective proteins means it includes all antibodies in our body. They are all protective proteins. Okay. On seeing this, we can understand how much protein is significant. All the things, all the significant molecules in our body that regulating the normal function of our body are composed of proteins. So, like that famous dialogue, without mathematics, earth is nothing. So, in that way, we can tell without protein, a body is nothing. Okay. Next, structural level of proteins. Structural level of proteins, primary structure is there, secondary structure is there, then tertiary structure is there, and finally quaternary structure is there. Each structure we are going to learn now. To a certain level, I think it's known to you. Anyway, if some doubts present here and there, we can clarify through this portion today itself now in this section. Primary structure. Primary is just like a beaded neck chain. Okay. Primary structure. Primary structure refers to the number nature and sequence of amino acids in the polypeptide chain or chains that constitute the protein. That is primary structure. What is that? Primary structure. If anybody asks you what we mean by primary structure, it refers to the number, nature, and sequence of amino acid in the polypeptide chain. Okay. Then it should have a amino terminal end, also a carboxyl terminal end. That end which ends up in amino group is called amino terminal end, and that end ends up with the carboxyl end is called carboxy terminal end. And always the numbering of amino acids start from the amino terminal and proceed towards the carboxyl terminal. And this primary structure is maintained by peptide bond between the amino acids. Okay. And which is the important thing here, the sequence of amino acids. As the sequence, what amino acid should be included in the chain, that determines the function and normalcy of that protein. Okay, so that sequence of amino acid is very important. Example, in what hemoglobin sickle cell anemia happen because of the change in one amino acids. Okay, then next, secondary structure. Secondary structure, it refers to the folding and twisting of the polypeptide chain. What it refers? Refers to the folding and twisting of the polypeptide chain. And how this folding and twisting happens with the help of hydrogen bonds. Hydrogen bonds. Secondary structure refers to the folding and twisting of polypeptide chain brought about primarily by hydrogen bonds between the amide group and carboxyl group. Okay, and these groups are located in same chain, same polypeptide chain. Okay, and that hydrogen bond forms between the amide and carbonyl groups. And what frequency this bonding is formed after every 3 or 4 amino acids. Here also we can see that one hydrogen bond. After this, how many amino acids? 1, 2, 3. 3 amino acids. Again, a hydrogen bond is forming. And again, one, where? 1, 2, 3. Again a hydrogen bond is there. So, what all things? First, it is secondary, means twisting and folding of primary structure. That twisting and folding is by formation of hydrogen bond, and that hydrogen bond formed after every 3 or 4 amino acid apart. And in addition to hydrogen bond, there are also some other bonds stabilize this secondary structure. Their ionic bonds are there, hydrophobic interactions are there, and van der Waals forces are there. Okay. So, this secondary structures are of two types, alpha helix and beta pleated sheet. Beta helix, simple way is beta helix. So, we are going to see what is the difference between this alpha helix and beta helix. In alpha helix, I first explained about the secondary structure using the alpha helix. Now, we are going to see what difference exists between alpha and beta, and especially what details about this alpha helix. In alpha helix, the polypeptide chain assume a spiral or spring-like conformation. What is this conformation? Alpha helix, spiral or spring-like conformation. The peptide bonds form the backbone of this helix. The helix backbone is constituted by that peptide bond. from that peptide bond, side chains are extending towards the outside. Each turn of the alpha helix consists of 3.6 amino acids. This is one turn. It consists of 1, 2, 3 and half of one amino acid. That's why 3.6 amino acids present in one helix. And the distance between adjacent amino acid is 1.5 angstrom unit. And the distance between adjacent helix, adjacent turn is 5.4 angstrom. Okay. That 5.4 how we can obtain? By multiplying 3.6 means 3.6 means each turn 3.6 amino acid is there, and between each amino acid distance is 1.5. So we need to multiply 3.6 into 1.5, which equals 5.4. That is the distance between the adjacent turns. Then these adjacent turns of the helix are held together by hydrogen bond formed between amide group of one amino acid and carboxyl group of the third. This is the third or fourth amino acids. That's about alpha helix. And this hydrogen bond actually helps to keep the spacing between the turns. Okay. And alpha helix usually found in nature are all right-handed. But exceptional cases like left-handed rings also present. But it's rare and unstable. Then beta pleated. What's the difference? In beta pleated, here note the same chain is folding up to form that coiling or bonding. Here two peptide chains are coming. Different. This is one peptide chain and this is another peptide chain. And that fully extended peptide chain, the distance between adjacent amino acid here, distance between adjacent amino acid here is 3.5 angstrom. And here, here the main bond, here again the main bond stabilize the structure is hydrogen bond itself. But here the difference is that here the hydrogen bond is formed between the carboxyl and amide group of amino acid belonging to different polypeptide chain instead of the same, that is in the case of alpha helix. That is the main difference. Okay, I think it's very clear for you. Beta pleated. Then this beta pleated itself are of two types based on its arrangement. Parallel pleated sheet and anti-parallel. Polypeptides that lie side by side are called with their N terminal, amino terminal and N pointing the same direction. If we consider these two polypeptide chain, this end, this CO, it's not completely given. Anyway, simply we can tell in this way, if we keep two polypeptide chains side by side and if we notice that whether the amino terminal end of one is pointing towards the same direction as that of the other, then it is called parallel. Then what is anti-parallel? Anti-parallel means here one amino polypeptides carboxyl is pointing in the same direction to the amino terminal of the other polypeptide chain. That is, the two ends are different. That type called anti-parallel. Example, fibroin of silk is an anti-parallel chain. Then I think it's very clear for you about secondary structure and different types of secondary structure. Then tertiary. Tertiary means this secondary structure if folded again, coiled, again it undergoes coiling and folding, then gives tertiary structure. And that folding also stabilized by so many bonds like hydrogen bonds, ionic bonds are there, hydrophobic interactions are there, van der Waals force is there, disulfide linkage is also there. And this particular, that folding also have some importance. That folding way, how, in what way that folding occurs, that determines the active size or the substrate binding site for that protein. If it is case of enzymes, that particular folding, if that folding, if any change happen to that that form of folding, it may change the pattern of active site and in turn make that enzyme inactive. So the form, the way how it folding occurs is very important. Protein showing tertiary structure examples are hemoglobin, myoglobin, chymotrypsin, etc. Then quaternary structure. Quaternary means it is a assemblage of many tertiary structures. Here is the structure of hemoglobin. Here is, we can see one tertiary structure, one tertiary, another tertiary, and the tertiary. They assemble together and perform one function. More than one polypeptide chain aggregate in a certain way to form a single functional unit. That is quaternary structure. The bonds present here are hydrogen bond, hydrophobic interactions are there, ionic bonds are there, van der Waals force also there. Then monomer or subunit means each polypeptide chain in that assemblage is called its subunit or monomer. And dimers, tetramers and polymers. Dimers means having two subunits are called dimers. Example is the insulin. Tetramer means four subunit. Example is hemoglobin. This is a tetramer. Then polymer means more than more subunits are present. It's called a polymer. Then homogeneous and heterogeneous. Homogeneous means subunits are all similar. They are called homogeneous. Example, phosphorylase is a homogeneous quaternary structure having protein. Then heterogeneous means subunits are different. Example, insulin, hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is actually a typical protein because it has quaternary structure. It is a conjugated protein. It has primary, secondary, tertiary and quaternary level of organization. It has four subunits and it has a non-protein part associated with it as heme. And with all these features, hemoglobin we can consider as a typical protein. Then biological importance of proteins. It is a structural component. All cellular membranes are composed of proteins. They are called lipoproteins. Then all hormones are proteins. Major hormones are formed of peptides and proteins. Example, insulin, glucagon. Enzymes, all enzymes except ribozymes are proteins. Except ribozymes. Ribosome doing the function of catalytic function. They are called ribozymes. Then respiration. Respiration means hemoglobin is a protein that helps in respiration. So in respiration also it has some role. Then immunity, all antibodies are proteins. So in that way it has some role in immunity. Then coagulation, fibrinogen and thrombin are main protein, helps in coagulation. They are also protein. Then viscosity. Viscosity means the albumin is a plasma protein, gives viscosity, determine the viscosity of blood. So in that way, it's a buffer. Example, again hemoglobin acts as a buffer, protein buffer, determining the pH of the blood. Then vision wise opsin is another protein. Then contractile proteins, example actin, myosin, they are also protein. They are structural contractile proteins present in the cell. Protection, keratin of hair, nails, they are all of proteins. Then regulation of gene activity, repressor molecules and promoter proteins are present for a gene transcription activation and inactivation. Supply of energy. Dietary component. As dietary component, it provides energy. In that way also protein important. Then nutrient and storage protein. It has storage proteins are present usually in seeds. Ovalbumin is a protein of egg white. In that way, it stands as a storage form also. Nutrition wise also is very important. This way we finish that chapter, that is biomolecule, and today's section. Thank you.